Yes. Happy New Year, everyone. We hope that you had a nice holiday.
Yeah, and
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of that. And
Hanukkah.
we are into our first show of the new year. So
if you're new here, I'm Lola.
And I'm Nay.
And this is Naylo's Thrift Talk, which is a YouTube show. We're live every Friday. And we talk about thrifting and how it can help add to a sustainable lifestyle, as well as reselling on eBay and Poshmark.
Yes.
And what are we talking about today, Nadine?
Today we are talking about spring 2020 trends. And you may say spring, it's still winter, but we want, with fashion trends, you want to get ahead of the game and you want to get a jump on it early because people will be shopping for spring very soon, if not now. And so these are things that you should be looking for in the thrift store. And even if you're not a reseller, these are fashion trends that you can be on top of. And, you know, when you're thrifting, look for these things. And if you are a reseller, they should sell very well for you.
So we're going to talk a little bit about not only what's going to be in style and going into this new year, but also how you might be able to replicate those trends with older pieces that you might find in a thrift store. Or if you're shopping on Poshmark or eBay, what resellers are going to be listing on Poshmark and eBay. So this show should be great whether you're on either end as a seller or a buyer.
Yes, definitely.
But before we get into that, we have our usual segments. So, Nadine, what do you wear?
So I have on a completely thrifted outfit as usual. So the first thing I have is I actually want to show my shoes. Oh, Jason's in the chat. Yay.
Oh, yeah.
These are Stegman. Can you pull me up on the big screen?
Yeah, I can.
So these are Stegman clogs, and I wear these pretty much all winter. They are so super cozy. They're very expensive, but if you can find them in the thrift store, that you can get them for a lot less. So I wear those all winter. They're wool clogs. And then this shirt that I have on is actually it has a union tag that indicates that it's either late 60s or early 70s. So
it definitely looks like that time period.
Yeah, so it's kind of like big, and it's got like kind of flary sleeves on it and all. I have a shirt under it, but it's actually pretty comfy. And thrifted my earrings for $2, I think, and my headband.
Love it. Those earrings are so cute. I love them. And you're wearing a couple trends that we're going to talk about.
Yes, and I always try to pull out a color like from what I'm wearing. You can see there's actually some green in it. So I always try to pull out a color from and accessorize accordingly.
Awesome. I just wanted to mention the chat is a little behind for me. I don't know if it's my connection or if it's the StreamYard. So guys, if you are in the chat and we don't respond to you right away, I'm really sorry. It may just be a little delayed.
But yeah, my chat did not show up until just now. Like there was no one in, and then we saw them. So
yeah. So hopefully it's fixed, but just in case. Yeah. So I'm wearing this flannel top. You know, I love flannel. Yes. This is Stephen Allen, which if you don't know that brand, it's a great brand. Very, very expensive. It doesn't hold its resale value as well as some other, comparable price brands, but it is definitely sought after. So I bought this on Poshmark, and I love that it's like flannel, but it's not the traditional button down. So it has a little keyhole. And
it's like got a little feminine touch. I love it.
Yeah. And then let's see if you can see the back has this like another very cool. And then I'm wearing some, let's stand up. Just like dark bootcut jeans that I also got on Poshmark.
Kind of cropped your shirt. That's cute.
Yeah. And then I'm wearing this ring that I showed you on the auction site because I got it on Shop Goodwill.
Yes, yes.
So it's I'm gonna say it wrong. It's like a Hyriker diamond, which is not a diamond. It's sort of like the fool's gold equivalent of a diamond.
Okay.
But my engagement and wedding rings are currently a little too small for me because I gained some weight. So I got this as a kind of fun, funky stand-in, hopefully until I lose a little weight again.
Very cool.
But been eyeing one full price for like $250 online for a couple years, and then I found this one for 10. So I'm
very cute. I love it. Very nice.
And
our thrifted home decor is coming up.
Home decor.
Yes. I have a couple items to show here that are, hopefully I'm not going to break this because I am known to break items like this. So my first item is mid-century modern. It is very, very mid-century. The brand is Bauer Pottery.
I love it. Wow.
It's speckled, if you can see. It's hard to see, but it's like a speckled pink. Yeah. And it's got this stand that is removable, and it's in great condition. Super cute. I do have it. I actually just listed it on Mercari today. I'm starting to list on Mercari. So I did actually list it already, but if anyone is interested, it is for sale. But I just love the mid-century kind of vibe of it. So
that's such a great find.
If I don't break it again. And then I have another mid-century item that is George Berard. I think you.
Oh, I have a couple of those too. I love them.
Tiled, and it's got this metallic gold finish. Back has the metallic gold, and again, super mid-century. And I will be selling this too. But I love those two pieces though. If I had like a mid-century looking kitchen, I would totally keep them.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I unfortunately I don't.
Yeah, the first one, I mean, I'm sure it's usable, but you could also just use it as like a centerpiece on a table because it's so pretty.
It is very pretty.
Totally. Okay. So I know Christmas is over, but in my household, we celebrate until Epiphany. So that's until the 6th. And I don't think I shared my Christmas tree because we decorated a little late this year. So I took a few pictures. So and you can see my super mid-century bunker, as we lovingly call it, is literally the entire apartment's made out of cinder blocks. And it feels like Cold War era anxiety manifested into an apartment, which is great for me because I love mid-century. And pretty much all of the ornaments on my tree were thrifted. We decided to do a little bit of a rainbow, although we didn't have enough purple. So I am on the hunt for some more purple, like shiny, bright ornaments for next year because it turned out really well. And I ended up adding the bubble lights. I think I showed on a previous episode. But again, not enough to go around the whole tree. So I'm looking for more of those because I think I'm addicted and I want them on the tree next year. And then I wanted to take a special picture of my tree topper, which is, it was made in Poland, as a lot of blown glass ornaments were and are still. But as I've mentioned many times, I think before, I lived in Poland for a while. So it's sort of a special, like, I did buy it in the US, but you know, little callback to my time there.
Really cute. Beautiful. And beautiful.
Under the tree was my Christmas present that I bought for myself, and said it was from my spouse.
Well, they paid for it too, though, right?
What?
I said they paid for it too, right?
Oh, yeah. And we have combined finances, so I always feel like it's silly to buy each other presents. So I'm just like, this is what I want, and this is my gift. And so I got it on Shop Goodwill. It is a new sewing machine, new to me because it's from the mid-century time, like 60s. And a similar one is actually in the MoMA design collection. So I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, very cool. And
of course, Ginny knows way more than I do in the chat. Ginny is the expert. Polonaise indent blown glass tree topper. Yeah. So I do think that there is, from my experience in Poland, there's a tradition of making these beautiful, intricate nativity scenes in Krakow, and the colors and the pattern remind me of some of those. So I do think some of that Polish influence is in these
I love the bright colors. I really do. And Ginny also said that you need to hit the bins in January, February for more ornaments on the cheap.
Yeah.
That's actually a great tip because we're not thinking Christmas. We're all Christmased out now, you know, from the and Hanukkah too. You know, any holiday items. We're not thinking about that anymore. But they're going to be plentiful because people are going to be donating their, you know, as they're putting away their stuff, they're going to be donating some things and whatnot. So now is the time definitely to get that.
And I'm sure anything that the thrift stores have been setting aside all year to put out around the holidays that then didn't sell will probably be ending up.
That's true. Yeah, if you throw, I mean, you can still get Christmas stuff, you know, in December, but if you're thrifting later in the year, a lot of times the thrift stores will mark it up higher too, and they'll put it like in a little special Christmas boutique section. So
very true. Okay, I think we are ready to dive into our topic of the week.
So we're gonna do 10 spring fashion trends that that are coming up in 2020. What's going on, Lo?
So you have the first one.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So the first one is Tangerine and Marigold colors. So we're talking bright cherry shades of orange and yellow. Marigold is kind of a yellowy orange color. So there's an example from glamour.com of you know, some of those colors. So Marigold is an updated shade of mustard that has been popular recently. It's brighter and less muted. So there's an example. So if you find anything in those colors, I actually have a dress that came from in one of the Goodwill blue boxes. That's that bright orangey yellow color, and I do have it up for sale now. But I realize now, like, maybe it'll sell now because it's, you know, it's definitely a color that people are going to be looking for, especially if you sell on Poshmark. I think Poshmark buyers are more trend oriented. So
definitely right. So this is I think all of these are situations where the brand matters less than the style. So if you use those style words like Marigold, Tangerine, even so Mustard's been in for a few years now. But I definitely think that this is sort of like the new version of it. But people might still be looking for mustard.
Yeah. Yeah. So great color too. I do like those colors.
Yeah. And building on that color story, there are two sort of opposing color trends that are going to be going into spring and summer. One of them is the highlighter pink or highlighter shades, so pink and again yellow, green, and then also on the flip side, more muted beiges and neutral colors that are continuing that minimalist trend that's been going on for a while. So I think there will still be a lot of demand for those minimalist brands. One of them that is a great bolo is Everlane, which is a sustainable. They say that they're radically transparent about their production practices, which they've actually gotten a little bit of criticism lately for not completely living up to that. But they definitely have that market of the more minimalist and eco-friendly kind of sustainable-minded buyers, and they have a great resale value. And then Muji's another one I love that I don't actually find that often thrifting, but it's also very pared down. It's a Japanese brand, so it has that kind of minimalist and
brand.
Muji, M-U-J-I.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know the brand. So I'm wondering, are these colors, you know, is it wearing them separately or wearing, you said a highlighter color? I'm wondering if you wear like an all neutral and then you have like you accessorize with something really bright, like a bright pink or something. Is that?
So the examples I found, so these two photos were both, I found them on the Vogue site. They were from Paris Fashion Week, but they were street style photos. I don't think that they're really mixed together. I think these are that are separate. So they may even be different buyers, but there's a demand for both. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's another cool, very cool trend.
And it says very 60s colors. Yes. And we will get back to that.
Yeah, that's actually coming up in a little bit. So another trend is muted ombre. Now, ombre has been it was out of style for a little bit, but now it's coming back in a more muted way, a little more subtle, mellow colors, 70s inspired shades. One of the few trends that's looking back to the 70s. So there's an example of those kind of muted ombre. Am I saying it right?
I think so.
Ombre. Yeah, so, and I speak French, so I should be able to pronounce that correctly, but okay.
And I think this is a great example too of, in terms of like the look back to the 70s, the tiered skirt.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I wouldn't call it.
Seeing a lot more of that too with the skirts that are kind of tiered, the ruffles. That's another thing that will.
Yep. So one thing I noticed as I was putting together the slideshow is that there are, so Nadine, you were asking if those colors are like combined or separate.
Yeah.
Besides that, I think all the other trends are very mix and match. So I noticed a lot of overlap between the different things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So even what I'm wearing today is kind of on par with some of the trends.
Yeah. So another trend, and again, this is definitely one that would combine, as Nadine just mentioned, the ruffles on that ombre dress, is embellishments like fringe, ruffles, and feathers also. I don't think I have a feather photo in here, but so kind of all over fringe or fringe at the hem, which kind of reminds me of some of the 20s style. I'm surprised I haven't seen more sort of flapper fashion. I definitely saw a lot of friends posting their New Year's Eve photos where they were dressed up in 1920s.
Yeah, we are in the roaring 20s again.
So that may still be more of the like costume thing, but I bet around Halloween that's going to be big.
Yeah.
But the fringe is definitely back. And then also just very like high volume ruffles. I've seen a lot of shirts that have ruffles sort of around the shoulders and also in the front. And then feathers as, again, like a trim or all over. I don't know how practical wearing all over feathers is, but
yeah, well, on the runway, it's practical. I don't know.
Exactly, right. So we'll see how that translates into actual everyday clothing. But I think anything with those sort of, really opulent trims is going to be big.
And of course, when you're looking at these photos, again, these are runway photos, so they're going to be exaggerated. So think, you're not necessarily going to be finding a fully feathered or fully ruffled dress like this, but you'll, if something has some accents or whatever, that's also
absolutely
par with the trend. So I see Anne Marie in the chat. Hi, Anne Marie. And our next one is crochet. So this is another trend that's reminiscent of the 70s. And vintage pieces are going to be in high demand. And you can often find handmade granny square tops. I have a crochet top that I in my own closet that I might now sell because it's on par with the trend, and I don't wear it. So, and also summer knits, like knits in cotton or linen. So, and a lot of those too. That's also a way to wear in the summer because a lot of the crochet, it's it's such an open knit that it's comfortable in the summer too when it's hot. So.
Yeah, when I was looking at some of the different articles about like 2020 trends, a lot of them conflated knitting and crochet. And as a knitter and a very poor crocheter, I just wanted to say that they are not the same thing. But a lot of these pieces seem to combine them. So the more open.
Yeah, the more open knits, and so you would say knits that way and crochet.
Exactly, exactly. So any of those pieces that have the more, like you can really see the texture of the knitting, and then also the crochet that is more of the like geometric, granny squares.
Florals, the floral crochet,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I like that trend.
I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so I'm also excited for this one. We've already seen 80s blazers being, I think, a very in-demand item, and they're definitely still good to pick up.
Yeah, we talked about that in the fall.
And so that trend is continuing. Here you see, so the short pantsuits are, so short suits. I'm not really sure the right terminology.
Yeah.
So those are definitely in. They were a little bit in last summer. I think they're going to be bigger this year. And especially the 3-piece suit. So the vest included. The vests alone, I think, are going to be a polo item. So I've seen some outfits with them without the whole 3-piece matching suit, but definitely match. And then, so it doesn't have to be shorts. You see, there's one example here where it is.
Vests are coming back.
Sorry?
So vests are coming back.
Vests are coming back, yes. So one thing that I found a lot while thrifting are Ralph Lauren items from the 90s.
Yeah.
Those will be great items to pick up. And here again is an example of the sort of highlighter bright color in the pink magenta shade. So you can definitely see how some of these trends are combining.
Definitely. I remember in the 90s, I even had the kind of tapestry vest. You know what I'm talking about? It was kind of like a tapestry. Those vests were in. I'm wondering if those are going to come back or if it's more just check some plaids.
I bet that would still be, I'm not sure exactly if it'd be is explicitly a trend, but I'm sure it would sell something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I like we were talking about too in the fall of mixing and matching plaids. And I think that's also gonna still in trend. I think that's still trending.
I've definitely seen a lot of outfits on on Instagram than on runway photos, but of outfits that are very boldly mixing patterns, mixing different plaids or making
some plaids and different
plaids. Yeah. Which is great because I think for us, we often will find a suit piece that's missing the rest of it. So it may have gotten, disconnected from the rest of it.
Very true. Yes. Very true. Good point.
And those are still now worth picking up because I think for a long time, I would pass up what was obviously a suit blazer because it didn't have the pants, and the pants may have been put in the pants section of the thrift store and it, couldn't find them. Right. So this is a good reason to now maybe reevaluate that.
Yes. And our next one is rose print. So florals are always in, but specifically this season we're seeing rose prints. So specifically roses, but also look for florals, and especially like I'm wearing a dark background with a floral print. This is also, in style right now. You'll see on the end, the red dress has a dark background too. It's and the floral prints really pop on the dark backgrounds.
Definitely. I love how you were wearing, so that's not roses, but it's definitely still on that trend with the bold graphic kind of floral.
Definitely. And my accessories are also something that we'll be getting to later, but that's also on par with the trends. And okay, so next one is yours.
Okay, so this is similar, and you can definitely see the overlap with my earlier one, which was embellishments, but opulence and volume. So again, this is one of those things that I'm not really sure exactly how it will translate into real life because this looks a lot easier to wear on the runway than
yes, I would not pull that dress on the right off like she's pulling it off.
I mean, I would love to wear that, but can you imagine grocery shopping?
I would just look like a giant blueberry. I mean,
I don't have the life to wear the dress like that. I need to evaluate my life choices.
But you have to remember, these are overstated because they're runway. So, I have a Ted Baker bubble skirt that's in my closet. I'm wondering if maybe that'll sell now because it's got that. And also, I know puffy sleeves, you said statement sleeves are something that we talked about in the fall, and this is carrying over from that as well.
Exactly. So the puffy sleeves are still in. This black dress is another tiered skirt, so we're seeing that again, which also variation on the volume, and then the feather trim and the ruffles, but also those very full skirts. I think I've had a couple in the past I sold. They were from Anthropologie. They were more of the peasant full skirt, but that also is sort of related to the more boho 70s look that we're definitely seeing kind of vibes of in some of these ones. So I bet that would be a great thing to pick up again.
I think another word for this trend is structured.
Yeah.
Like structured that have shape to them. I don't know about shoulder pads per se, but you know, the puffy sleeves, the shirt, the skirts, like I mentioned, a bubble skirt, they have shape to them. So.
Yes. And I think that also relates back to the 80s suits, because those are very structured also in a different way, but it has that same kind of concept where you're, you know, there's a lot of clean lines and very intentional fitting to the clothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is
also speaking of structured.
Yeah, right. Talk about structure. That is, yes. So polka dots is the, so this is obviously, and if I went to the grocery store in this too, like people would be looking at me like I was from another planet or something.
Oh, if it weren't for the padded, the very, you know,
Shoulder
pointed shoulder pads, I think you could totally pull this off at the grocery store.
I don't know.
Maybe without the heels.
Oh my. So this is Balenciaga as well, I should mention. So not something that I would ever be wearing anyway, because unless I, who knows, stranger things have happened. You can find
comparable brands.
Yeah, we have. So, but if this was retail, this dress would be well over $1,000. Yes. So it's so polka dots are a classic print that's always around this year, but this year they're going to be kind of in full force. So, and look for, and this is so funny because I just listed an 80s polka dot dress. So look for 80s polka dot dresses, since large sleeves are also back in. The dress I listed doesn't have the puffy sleeves. It is 80s. It's a wrap dress, but it's perfect. It's polka dot. I just listed it on Posh, so I'm hoping that that will sell this season now.
Yeah. And as someone who buys a lot of vintage and wears a lot of vintage, I have for years been taking out the shoulder pads of different, you know, 80s dresses and thinking, there's going to be a moment where I'm regretting this. I'm going to come back to this dress and wish I kept the shoulder pads. And I'm wondering if 2020 is going to be the year.
Yeah, I think it might
regret removing shoulder pads.
From that Balenciaga photo, I would say, yeah, because that is those are some shoulder pads there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I really love the polka dot matching tights.
Yeah, that's a very cool
detail. I am inspired. I might have to go, and obviously tights are something that you can only sell or, you know, want to buy used if they're still in package, but I might find some polka dot tights to go with one of my.
That's a cool trend. Yeah.
So my last item encapsulates, I think, a lot of what we've seen. So vintage eras, but all of them. I think in the past, usually there's one or two eras that have sort of come back. We've seen specific trends, and you could say, oh, the 90s are back, the 80s are back.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago, it was the 80s in full force, you know. And
yeah. So I think this year we're going to see a lot of looking backward, especially, you know, it's a new decade and we're thinking a lot about, and I think in current events, we're thinking a lot about the past more than in recent years. I may be a little biased because I also am trained as a historian. That was what I did in grad school, but I definitely hear people talking about, you know, like the 60s and 70s as a precursor to our current day political situation more than in the past. And I think that's sort of, you know, all of our collective consciousness. So we have 60s prints. So those bold and really dramatic floral prints, especially.
Like what I have on again, yes.
And then also those going into the 70s, that, like you said, the marigold and mustard, those sort of yellow and orange tones. And then the crochet as an example of more of the boho side of the 70s. That's definitely back. The structured clean lines of the 80s, as well as the shoulder pads that we've already talked about. And then the 90s, which we didn't really touch upon, but I still think is going to be a big influence, is more of the casual oversized streetwear. In this picture, there's the tie-dye and the jean vest. I think this was Versace, forget. So this may be less of an item that's in demand on, say, Poshmark, but we've talked about selling on Depop before. So that's a younger crowd that's more into the streetwear style. And for them also,
definitely
the 90s happened when they were like babies. And
yeah. Yeah.
so, you know, for teenagers, this is all discovering things that are new to them. And I think that will definitely still be in demand among trendy teens. So like Zoomers.
Judy asked, do we get decent prices for vintage on Posh? So I do sell vintage on Posh, but my biggest sales have come from eBay and Depop, not necessarily Poshmark. But I think, you know, there are sellers on Poshmark that just sell vintage and they do fine. So
yes, I've definitely noticed that the most successful vintage sellers on Poshmark seem to only sell vintage.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's also partially because they're doing a lot of social media promotion. So like if they have an Instagram account and that's driving buyers to their Poshmark closet, which basically is not so much a result of the closet or the platform of Poshmark, but more the way that they're marketing themselves. So they might also just do as well on Depop or eBay.
Yeah. So, and I know we didn't mention Etsy. I have not sold on Etsy. I just started on Mercari. I would like to open an Etsy store, but I know Etsy vintage was doing really well on Etsy. I don't know if Etsy is doing as well these days.
I've heard a lot of mixed things about Etsy, and I know I've talked about this before on a previous episode, and a few people were saying, oh, but I've actually done really well on Etsy. So this is definitely just like, take it with a grain of salt, but that there has been a lot of uproar with issues about offering free shipping and different things like that Etsy sellers have been dealing with, you know, kind of rolling with the punches. But we've also seen that happen on eBay. We've seen it happen on Poshmark when they raise the price of their standard shipping. So that may just be sort of a growing pain kind of thing. I have not sold on Etsy for a while, and I am still interested in getting back on there because I would love to be doing more vintage. So I may do that in the new year. And
well, I was also thinking for yarn too, and crafting items like kits, you know, needlepoint kits and whatnot. I was thinking maybe that would be a good place for me to start selling those items.
Yeah, definitely.
What I'm doing as well, like my needlepoint kits, I used to be able to sell them so well, and now they're just not selling as well on eBay. So I'm wondering if I do sell some of those items on Etsy, if they'll move there.
Oh, Judy has a comment. I sell on Etsy and I've done well, but wondering how it's changing as I've been ignoring my store. Yeah, that's one of the main things that's kept me from getting back is I feel like when you're gone for a little while, there's another learning curve that you have to get over because you have to know all of the features and you have to learn sort of what the conventions are, which sort of can change over time. So hi, Sabrina. Thanks for coming, even if you're late.
Yes. Hi, Sabrina. Glad to have you. And yeah, the kits, Judy said the kits are good. Yeah, I'm thinking that I might try and move some of my kits up. I mean, I'm trying to expand my horizons. That was in our goals episode last time that I talked about trying to expand, you know, move to different platforms and all. I've already done that with Mercari. So I would like to kind of put my eggs in more baskets.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, I think.
And wrapping up on our trend thing. So another couple things that we talked about some of the trends that are kind of carrying over from fall. Pistachio green is still in. My earrings are kind of pistachio green. So
I think that counts as part of the trend. They're also the fringe, so that you've got that going.
They're the fringe, yeah, I'm just all on trend today. And then also the prairie look, kind of the boho bohemian prairie look with the lots of, I know lace is another thing with it. So lace, floral, you know, the kind of gentle florals, if I might say. I don't know how to, you know what I mean? Like the subdued florals. So not
more of the sort of going into the prairie trends, like the old fashioned kind of calico.
Exactly. That's what, yes. Thank you.
I've seen them described as ditzy florals sometimes. So that might be a keyword.
Yeah.
So going back to our discussion about platforms, Judy has a great comment the addition of handmade clothes from overseas. So I'm guessing you're talking about items that are obviously either being sold straight from China or bought on like AliExpress. And then
there's a lot of things that are made to look vintage. Like I could see with the crochet trend that this would be happening a lot too. There's things that are made to look vintage, but really aren't. They're just kind of cheaply made, mass-produced China items. And I guess that's kind of maybe what's flooding Etsy. Is that what she's saying?
Yes, I think that's also a problem across platforms that, you know, it's sort of a challenge for us right now, because I've seen that definitely on eBay, and sellers from overseas gaming the search system. So they try to make themselves look like they're in the United States and they're not. And eBay's trying to fix that, but you know, they're always a step ahead. And on Poshmark, there's a lot of sellers who buy what they call like boutique items that are really just mass produced, you know, very inexpensive Chinese clothing that they mark up, you know, several times what they pay for it. And that makes some buyers really, you know, hesitant to buy on Poshmark. But I think Poshmark's a little bit easier because you can obviously say if it's not new, that's something that is not, you know, bought in bulk overseas.
Right.
Yeah. As Judy says, that the clothes are handmade in sweatshops. Yeah. And I think actually I was just about to get into my bonus trend for 2020, which kind of relates back to that. And that is sustainability and ethical consumption is really big right now. And for that very reason that, you know, fast fashion is seen now as a problem because it does rely on undercompensated labor in countries that are,
you're calling it fast fashion? Is that what,
fast fashion in sort of the fast fashion trend that has really defined a lot
like
of
the fast food of the I get exactly. It makes sense.
So you know, so that's close. That's stores like H&M and Forever 21 and Zara. And people, I think, are starting to realize that there's a downside to that they're not meant to last. They start ending up in landfills. They are polyester, which is polluting our water because every time you wash it, it creates microplastics. So all of those concerns are leading people to dress more sustainably, which is not only sustainable businesses, but buying secondhand and wearing vintage and looking backward towards times when clothes are made a little bit, you know, with more quality. And so that means that we are already a step, you know, ahead of that trend because we are already selling vintage. We're already selling secondhand. So I think that is going to get even bigger in 2020. I think we'll see people shopping on platforms like eBay and Poshmark and Depop.
Yeah, definitely. And to add to that, I know some thrift stores like Philly 8 Thrift takes t-shirts and upcycles them. And you know, old vintage, and the same, and now Goodwill Blue Box is doing the same thing. They are taking vintage items, upcycling them, over dyeing them, things like that, and you know, they're selling well. So
yeah, I think that's definitely something I want to do this year. You're talking about the ombre trend. I've seen a lot of people mimic that with either over dyeing or bleaching, which sounds like a lot of fun to me. And if I can do that and sell it and make some money, like I would have fun with that.
Yeah, like that. I don't know if in the last episode, I think it was that I wore the boxer sweatshirt that I got from Box. And then I love it. It's a cozy. It's so broken in. It's straight up 80s. You know, it's got that like really thick fleece lining on it, and they over dyed it. It's got imperfections. It's got some spots here and there, like darker. And I just love it. It's great. So
that's a great example.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say we did pay up for the stuff we got on Goodwill Blue Box. I also paid, I think it was $30 for a pair of mother jeans, which actually is a great price for mother jeans. But they were, I think, bleached and then over dyed, and they're just so cool, and they're one of a kind. And I was very happy to pay that for them. So
yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. So what Judy says, I read that millennials are turning to secondhand and more sustainable. Hopefully there's. Oh yeah, and we're seeing that a lot more on Poshmark and Depop, which is it's definitely a say for millennials, and yeah,
and younger, I would say. So like Gen
and
Z.
younger, yeah, and younger. So yeah, I do think there's actually a lot of really young kids buying on Depop, like teenagers, and yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, but yeah, definitely, they think it's cool now that the stuff that we remember wearing, that was now it's cool again. It's so.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse
Okay.
me.
So
And
our market report. I think you're up first.
Okay. Sure. So, okay. So this is a brand to Bolo, and I do have to say my photos were a little faded out. Like I wish I had I was gonna retake photos for this bag, but then it's old, so I guess my photos are okay. But the brand is Holy Rector. They are located in Virginia. I forget the name of the town, but
Middleburg, Virginia.
Middleburg, thank you. That's it. So they're located in Middleburg, Virginia, and it's a boutique. They sell women's clothing and they sell equestrian type items. So this bag was very equestrian. It was kind of like in that genre, that equestrian genre, I think. And it was made so well. It was so heavy. I mean, it was crafted, like a Louis Vuitton bag would be. It was that kind of quality. It was
for that price,
very heavy, very high end. And I looked it up and knew this bag actually was about $900 originally. So it had some scratches on it, which I disclosed in the leather. Overall, though, it was in great condition. And I took an offer for $80 on it. I was actually hoping to get a little higher, but the problem was not a lot of people, it's not a really well-known brand. So it's not something that people are necessarily looking for, but I think I had to get that buyer that knew the brand and wanted, so somebody that was actually looking for it. But so if you find this brand, definitely pick it up. And I did pay $5 at a consignment shop sale for this. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
I could see that being sort of a well-known brand in certain circles. Like
I think so. I bet locally in Virginia, where it's, I bet locally it's considered but yeah, the quality on this bag was unbelievable. So
this is such a great example of you making a great sale and someone else still getting a great deal.
They got a bargain. They paid, they got like 90% off of that bag, what it would have been. Yeah. So.
And it looks like it's amazing condition. And
it was really good. It had some minor scratches in the leather, but it was nothing that couldn't be, I think with the right leather cleaner, it could be buffed out. So
well, even the scratches are part of the like patina that you sort of want on some of these bags over time. So
yeah, it was an amazing bag. And then this I sold, I think I actually showed it on one of our hauls.
I think so, because I remember being surprised that there is a plus size Talbots.
Yeah, so I think this is their plus line, the T by Talbots, and it was a size 3X, and I sold it I paid $3.99. I took an offer on Posh for $25. They take 20%, so I made $20 on it, and minus so I still made a good $16 profit on it. So not bad.
Not bad at all.
No. So, and that went out yesterday, easy to ship.
And then my sale is perfect on trend.
Wow, is that not perfect? Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought this skirt in high school. And yeah, so I've mentioned a few times that I've been going through the closet in my parents' house and pulling things out of there and selling it. So this is one of those things that had been sitting in my closet at my parents' house for, years. It was too small for me even when I was in high school and was an extra small. So it was tiny.
Yeah.
And I was not surprised to see that it sold to what I think is a shipper, or the address is a overseas shipper that I think will be going to Korea, which I've definitely sold some of the smaller vintage pieces to Asian countries before, where the population is a little bit smaller than average in the United States. And this is a great example of that vintage 70s, the prairie, the floral, the tiered. It's not actually tiered, it's printed on the fabric, but it has that look. and it has these really gorgeous little fabric covered buttons down the front. So I have loved this piece forever. I'm so glad it has a good home now.
Oh yeah, it's adorable. I love it too.
And then the other item I sold, I actually don't have a screenshot from because I sold it over a Facebook group, and that is a where's the tag? So this is an Ipsy.
Really?
Yes, I actually.
Oh, I'm surprised.
I know. I treated myself to they call it the ultimate one. It's their highest tier one.
Yeah.
It's like $50, but you get, I think it's like $300 worth of stuff, and it's full size instead of the little samples. And I thought it was a good way to try out some new brands because I realized that I was out of everything and I needed new makeup and I needed new moisturizer. And so I got that, and I did it on the condition for myself that I try to sell the makeup bag. So I was able to connect with someone who was looking for that bag and sold it for $10, including shipping, but it's so light, it's not gonna.
Yeah, and so for an Ipsy bag, because Ipsy bags, you know, they're so plentiful in the reseller community, the reselling circle. So I think, you know, I see so many of them because they're so, you know, you get them for free with your subscription.
Mm-hmm. So I think part of the reason why
larger one though.
So yeah, so this is the biggest one. So it's a little bit more usable than the small ones that I think we find really often. And it's the most recent one. So there's still that kind of buzz around it. So some people really want to get the larger bag to match their smaller bag, or
you sold it on what Facebook group did you sell that on? It was
I don't remember.
Was it a local one? It's because you're shipping it.
Like an Ipsy buy and sell.
Oh, see, that is a good tip right there. That's a good tip.
Yeah, we definitely mentioned that before, that, you know, you can look for the buy and sell groups through different brands or different styles. So I did also on, I forget who was it. I know you were in the chat earlier. Elizabeth, was it you that recommended the ModCloth buy and sell group? So I did join some of those, and I haven't listed my yet, but that's how I'm hoping to sell it, because it is nice to make a few sales that you don't have to do fees and stuff except for PayPal fees.
Yeah, and that's a good tip. I might try that with some of my items. So yeah, I actually have and maybe I'll try to sell it. I have the Betty Boop Ipsy bag. Super cute. It's sequined and it's a recent one. I'm wondering if that one will sell.
Just maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. Oh, you know, now I don't want to. This is completely unfounded because I have not heard this, but William is saying something about Amazon buying eBay. That would be devastating if that happened. So let's hope that that's.
I cannot imagine that that's true. That sounds really, really off the wall. Yeah. But, I mean, if it does, we will cover it in our breaking news segment.
Yeah.
So actually, along those lines, I feel like today the news story that we wanted to talk about is also maybe a little off the wall, and that is that
we don't know if this is. I mean, there's not. It is a reputable news site, but we don't know if this is actually going to be happening. So don't. You know, we're not trying to create mass panic here.
But Forbes recently had an article.
Yeah, which is a reliable news site.
And
so this is about USPS.
Okay. So the headline is that USPS could privatize as early as next year. And once I did read the article, it does seem like that is a big jump to a conclusion based on just the fact that there is a lot of issues with the Postal Service, which we all know that already.
Yeah.
And that McKinsey is a consulting firm that they had asked to do sort of a report about the state of the USPS, and their findings were sort of saying that privatizing might be the best route. And of course, with Trump as our president currently, that he would be amenable to that. But I also found an article that, and I don't know this source, so I'm you know, I want to say that because I didn't really have the chance to sort of, you know, vet this source, but it seems like a, you know, sort of insider site that follows specifically the post office, and they were saying that this specific article is ridiculous and it's not going to happen and it's complete speculation and jumping to conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think there's any founded like I think it does seem like it's speculation to me.
Right, right. And I think we've also heard these kind of stories and the sky is falling a lot. I do think we want to be prepared for, as usual, higher shipping prices and to know that we may have to accommodate for that in our pricing, especially if you offer free shipping. And
Well, in January, the prices increase anyway. I know there's going to be another hike now.
yeah.
So,
and we'll probably see higher prices on Poshmark, which means, you know, at a certain point,
they're going to raise their shipping, obviously, at some point.
Which might mean that buyers are only buying bundles that they, you know, buy one item at once. So that could change our strategies a little bit. And
so
then
if it did happen, yeah, I think it would not only increase prices, but I think I have, and this is again speculation on my part, that the free shipping supplies would go away probably.
And I could see that happening even if they don't privatize. I think that may be something in our near future. And I have heard multiple people talking about indications that that's happening. So I personally am going to start saving boxes even more than I did before, and sort of make sure that I'm not reliant on any of those shipping supplies for my sort of day-to-day kind of packing systems, and not to take them for granted. And I know I've definitely seen some people on social media, like Poshmark groups and stuff, using their postal supplies as organizational tools. And I hate being the person to call it out and be like, don't do that, because you're the reason why we might lose our shipping supplies. But guys, you're the reason why we might lose our shipping supplies. So
yeah, and I know in Canada that the postal service is privatized, and talking to some of my Canadian friends, they complain about high shipping prices and no free supplies too either. So yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens, but the sky is not falling, you know, as with everything. We will, you know, we'll ride the wave and deal with it as it comes, but just be prepared, you know, don't just, and again, if the pricing, if the shipping prices increase, people are going to know that it's not, you know, the platforms will adjust to it. You know, so Sabrina said that she has a friend that works at USPS and he had heard the talk of it. So yeah. So
sorry, is that about the ending the shipping supplies or privatization or both?
Good question. Yeah.
Curious. So, but that is a good, I mean, those are the insiders who are working and delivering our mail every day. They're the ones who are going to know first. So
yeah, I wonder if I can, because I'm kind of buddies with my post. Ever since they hit my house, I've been, yeah. So I don't know if you guys heard.
Way to make friends with your local post.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys heard about this. I probably mentioned on one of the other shows, but so when it happened this past August, I was about to get in the shower, you know, just a normal day. And all of a sudden there was a big loud boom and my house shook. And I was like, I thought that something had exploded. It was horrible. So went outside and I looked out the window, and then there's a postal truck like in my house. Pretty much like it didn't come in the house, but it came right up to the porch, demolished my front porch, which we're still working to get fixed with the post office as a whole process. But anyway, so since then they've been really nice to me. So, you know, and they're nice workers anyway, but I think they felt so bad that, so I'll go over there and, you know, so I might be able to get some inside scoop from them, because there's a couple of them that, you know, that I talk to over there, and they're very nice to me, you know.
Yeah. So Sabrina says it is about going private. So,
okay. Yeah. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. So, okay. Interesting. Yeah, so I don't recommend that. I recommend, you know, getting hit by a postal truck, but it is a good way to get.
Do you still recommend living directly across the street from your post office? Because that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is a good deal. So I moved from Philly to the burbs, which not thrilled about, because I'm a city girl. But the one big plus is that literally the post office is across the street from my house. Like I look out the window and I see the post office, and so it's just a walk over, you know. And it's funny because they said one day, they were like, you know, we can pick up your packages. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be
all the way.
The laziness. That would be like, yeah.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so that wraps up our show for the most part. I can't believe we actually did it under an hour today.
No, we're right on cue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
as usual, we do have a question for everyone, which this week is, what trending spring 2020 items are you looking for in the thrift store? So I'm curious if there's anything that we mentioned or anything else that you're hoping to find so you can list, or you're hoping to find so you can wear it and rock it this season.
Yeah. Also, if you've sold something that is, that's trending, then let us know about that too. So
Totally.
And
as usual, you can find us all over the internet. We sell on Poshmark, eBay, and Depop, so you can find us there. And if you are
Macari soon to that,
and if you're interested in any of the things that we've shown on our episode, especially like Nave's selling a couple of the items that she shared, and you can also, contact us separately for those. We are also on Instagram. We love getting your messages, and you can email us at nalothrifts@gmail.com if you have any ideas or suggestions. If you want to be a guest or want to suggest a guest, we're always open to that.
Yeah, we need some upcoming topics. So if you have any ideas on things that you'd like us to talk about, and also thumbs up, and please subscribe. If you're watching this and you haven't actually subscribed, please subscribe, because we're trying this year to get, our goal, as we talked about, is to get 4,000 subscribers by, the end of the year. So
yeah, help us out if you liked this episode and share it with your friends. And we'll see you again.
I'm not sure what our topic's going to be. We have one in the work, so I'm not sure.
We have a bunch of ideas, but we'll see.
We'll let you know this week, and we'll be back next Friday, same time.
Yeah.
Have a great week, everybody. Thank you.